Let's see if this is working. Hopefully the audio is working. I don't have time to test it out right now, but hey, what the hell. Wow, my hair looks like I had a lot more fun tonight than I really did. Jesus. The old song goes, didn't get laid, got in a fight. Didn't even get in a fight. So, I view them both about the same. So either way, that would have been better than this. Topic of the conversation tonight. Love will always defeat hate. And it always will if you allow it to do. If you allow it to. Why is that? I used to think it was quaint. It was just some little expression we'd say because it was some fairy tale belief that, somehow love had more ability to present a tactical offensive than hate did. Until I became a parent. I actually fully believed in that. I fully believed it was just some fairy tale quaintness. And I shouldn't have, because there's more than enough evidence out there that shows that love is just straight up more powerful than hate. And I don't mean in that hippie way. I mean in that rip you apart and kill you, split you open, tear your seams up and kill everything you've ever loved or touched type way. That's what love will do for you. Let's explain this simply. How do we explain this simply without sounding like a psycho? Love will make a woman throw an RV off her baby. So many times in history we've seen where people have done the impossible. I mean, she was dead by the time the RV went up an inch. Her spine was shattered and she was dead. But she still threw it the rest of the way off her baby and got her baby to safety before she died. Things like that happen all the time. Because love is more powerful than hate. Because hate has limits. If you hate something, you'll do so much to hurt it. If you love something, there's nothing you won't do to protect it. When my kids were born, I'm petty. I wanted to have children just because I wanted to prove I could be a better parent than my mom. I have no idea who my dad was, so I figured I wanted to be a better parent. So I had children. And I did it by going for the least likely person in the universe that would ever have children with me. I think she was actually handing out flyers from this organization called Childless by Choice when I met her, and I went, I'm knocking her up someday. So about 10 years later, we had children. And it kind of destroyed our relationship. The kids didn't. What I did during the birth thing is what caused that. Because I didn't realize, my family had never given a fuck about me, so I never thought there was anything special to bond between a parent and kid. And my mom tried to kill me constantly. She didn't ever try to protect me. She was a psycho. Munchausen by proxy, aggravated like 1,000-fold. But at least I'm basically unkillable at this point in my life. But it wasn't until my first son was born. She had twins. Suzanne had twins. They're mine, or at least they have my eyes, so I know they're mine. But they also have traits of every single person we were hanging out with at the time. So it's kind of weird. But if anybody could pull that trick off, it'd be her. Got like Jason's feet, Ray's hair. It's just bizarre. But they have my eyes. I never got tested because, like I told her when we first got together, if you ever need more than me, go ahead and go out and cheat on me. Just don't ever tell me about it. I'll be fine because I'll never ever investigate it or look into it because I don't care. So I've never thought to get it tested, the paternity test. And in Oregon, there was assumed parentage anyways. They were born in Oregon, so I would have still paid child support the whole time and still had to raise them myself. So yeah, wouldn't matter if they were mine or not. And it doesn't matter to me if they're mine or not. I love them the same. They're still my sons. But when Morgan was born, he was stuck in a little waiting tray, a little warming tray next to me. And I'm looking at him, and in that moment I realized something. I realized that everything in my world had changed in that moment. I'm going to have to edit this in because I forgot to bring up a couple points that I meant to bring up in the last discussion. And my hair looks like I had even more fun. Jesus, what's going on here? Apparently I'm having lots of fun when I'm off camera. Normally I have fun on camera, but for some reason now I'm having it off camera. Who knows? What the hell? In fact, if it wasn't for the NSA, I wouldn't be having a sex life right now because it's basically just me and the camera. What was I saying? Oh yeah, sun in the warming tray. I realized in that moment, and I literally flashed to like the most basic of things. I looked at him and went, "Oh fuck!" I'd never jump in front of a bus for anyone. I don't give a fuck. I wouldn't kill myself to stop cancer. But looking down at Morgan, I realized that everything in my world had changed. Now, if I was in a village and a tiger walked in the village, I'd tell the boys to go in that direction or hand the boys to somebody else to run off with them. And I'd go face the tiger, not hoping to beat the tiger, just hoping to slow it down with my body. Get eaten, just hope it's kind of too full to chase after the kids right away and give them a head start. I jammed myself into a shark's mouth so that it couldn't bite them. I would, my life, my dreams, my hopes, everything no longer mattered. They mattered. And that was it. That was an instantaneous, like, there you go. That's that's what you're gonna have to that's what you're gonna have to live with the rest of your life, is that your timeline stopped and their timeline began, and now you're just a servant to them. So that's well, then what happened got even worse because they induced on Friday. The boys were born on Tuesday. It was the middle of the day on Tuesday. Morgan was born, and the doctor kept telling Suzanne to push and push and push. 4.5 hours would go by, and Connor's vitals are still strong. But the moment his vitals started to dip, started to drop, I went to the doctor and said, cut him the fuck out. The doctor looked at me and said, no, I think she can just possibly. And I went, click. I said, cut him the fuck out now, because one of two things is going to happen. Either you do it, or I'm going to cut your throat, and I'm going to cut the bitch in half to get my kid out. And I'm not too clear on the anatomics, so I'm going to have to cut around. At which point she gave Suzanne a cesarean to get Connor out. Wise move, because I would have cut. I mean, Suzanne's the love of my life. That moment in that hospital room fucked up my marriage. But I was being completely honest, because I now understood that my kid was in there, and there's nothing in this world that would have stopped me from getting him out of there alive. That's why love will always beat the demon, because love is way fucking worse than the demon. No demon has ever been capable of what love is capable of. I still to this day love Suzanne. Only person I've ever wanted to be with. Wish I could get over my shit. Wish she could get over her shit, but I threatened to cut her in half in the operating room, and she then later, 2 years later, kidnapped my kids. Neither one of us are getting over that. So yeah, it sucks. Fucked like 60,000 guys in my lifetime. Fucked hundreds of women too. Been a professional sex worker almost my entire life. Only ever wanted to be with one person. Would have stayed monogamous. Would have stayed with her till my death. In fact, I did stay with her till my death, because I kind of died the day she decided to divorce me. But I'm still here. Go figure. But yeah, that's why I believe that don't be black-pilled, because we're coming upon a time of reckoning, when all that is hidden will be revealed. And when that happens, all the parents will know who hurt their kids. And I'll do everything I can to protect them. And if I'm still alive after not being able to protect them, I'll do everything I can to avenge them. And I'm not special or unique. I'm just like every other person out there. Every other parent who's worth the shit. Every other parent who's not fucking their kids feels like I do. I almost feel bad for the bad guys, because nothing in history is going to compare to this. I've always been basically a narcissist. I've always been very self-centered. I mean, I have a unique perspective on life because I was a psychopath for the first 20 years of my life. I was a complete sociopath. I was raised that way. I came out of a demon. I was raised to be a demon. And so by the time I was 20 and I dropped a shit ton of acid, like this much liquid, like fill your hand up with liquid acid and do that sometime and see what happens. And then I walked by a mirror and I made the mistake of looking into it, and I saw myself for exactly who I was, objectively. And I did not have any respect for me. I could see through all my bullshit. I was a horribly manipulative, terrible person. To some extent, maybe, yeah, sure, I had to do that to survive, but no, I could have done anything. I got to talk to a girl into dropping out of high school so she could drive me to high school. Then pick me up for lunch, buy me lunch. Then pick me up from high school, take me home, sex me. Then take me to work afterwards. And then pick me up from work and basically do the cycle again every day. I talked her into dropping out of school just so she could do that for me. She was on track to get full scholarship to college, all that stuff. I showed up at high school just because I don't even know why I finished high school. I have no idea. There's no real point in it. But yeah, that's ruined her life. Get to see her all the time. She works in the hospice that's attached to my electrolysis clinic. So I get to see her once a week. And I apologized to her, and I didn't apologize to her fully to the extent of like, oh my God, I did this intentionally to you. I should probably find out eventually, but I did try to apologize to her because I now feel guilt. I didn't used to. But no, looking at myself in the mirror that day, I realized that I was just a petty fucking bitch. I wanted the world to feel my pain. I'd been traumatized as a kid. I'd been molested. Basically all the shit that they talk about on Springer, but they wouldn't ever put me on Springer because it's just too much. But I was raised Lutheran and lowered for Lutheran and raised Lutheran and lowered for Lutheran. By the time I finished 6th grade, I could suck dick like a porn star. But it's a cashable skill, you know. So, hey. But no. Because of that, I decided that I could just do anything I wanted to. And I could be as evil as I wanted to everybody because I was because I'd been hurt and I wanted the world to feel my pain. When looking at myself in the mirror that day, I saw that the world's full of poison. My contribution would go unnoticed. There's no reason to. You know, one more spiteful, petty, fucking greedy, evil being in this planet is not going to change anything. And it's not going to even be remembered. It's pointless. And I literally put a gun to my head. To my own head. And I fully wanted to pull that trigger. And I had to make a deal with myself in that moment. That I had to change everything about me. I had to get over everything. I had to get through everything. Pretty much right then and there. Good thing I didn't have acid to trip for about a month, but it still took longer than that. It took me about a year. And I dosed all the time. And went and looked in the mirror and talked to myself. And saw how my progress was going. And if I hadn't have developed a soul in that time period, pop, I'd put a subsonic 9mm right through my brain. Because that's what I carried because I was a criminal. Didn't want to kill anybody. Just wanted to put holes in them and stop them in case I needed to. Smart move. Only an idiot would carry 45 as a criminal. Then you're just going to prison for the rest of your life. But also, subsonics sound like... That's all they sound like. So nobody even tells that a gunfire even happened. Just put holes in somebody's leg. So, where was I? Oh yeah. So I have a unique perspective on life because for 20 years I was a sociopath and a psychopath. I understand how people like Bill Gates thinks. I understand how little concern they have for your well-being. Because a normal person can't understand it. Have you ever been running for the bus? Like you see the bus up ahead of you and you went running for it? Have you ever been concerned with any of the ants you might have stepped on the sidewalk as you're running to the bus? That's what they think of you. That's all you are to them. Even if they see you die in front of them, it doesn't matter. You're not going to stop and mourn that ant you just stepped on the way to the bus. You're not even going to care. You're just going to run and catch the bus because that's what you need to do in that moment. That is how they view all of you. They even view each other that way. That's how little concern they have for you. So, back to my story. The most they can do is hate. And this is where I'm going to unblackpill the world, hopefully. I'm explaining this because everybody keeps thinking it's pointless, it's over, it's just too much. How can we fight against these psychopaths that are taking control of everything? Very easily. Because they have fucking limits and parents don't. Let me say that again. They have limits and parents do not. That's why throughout history, good has always defeated evil and love has always crushed hate. Because hate is as strong as that ant is you might have stepped on. If you hate somebody, if you hate something, you'll want to hurt it. You'll want to hurt them. You'll do whatever you can to hurt them, short of hurting yourself. You'd never cover yourself in napalm just to grab a hold of somebody and hug them until they die. You wouldn't do that from hate. Those people that lit themselves on fire in front of the State Department, they loved humanity. They did that for love. People that knowingly strap a bomb to themselves and go someplace. I think 99% of all the suicide bombings are somebody who just was doing a delivery and didn't realize that they were carrying a bomb. But I think there's a small percentage that actually are there. Because, someone killed their children or someone put their parent in a jail in Jerusalem or something like that. And they just want to strike back. That's love. That's not hate. Eventually it'll win. Now, that's why love always defeats hate. Because love is sicker, more evil, more cruel, more brutal than hate could ever conceive of being. Love is not just la-la feelings. Love is, I care more about something else than myself. And I'm willing to sacrifice myself for something. That's love. That's not hate. Hate is self-centered. Love is altruistic. That's why altruistic species don't exist on this planet. Humanity could be one. I don't know if you'd be better off if it was, because no altruistic species has ever thrived on this planet, because this planet's all about resource wars and shit like that. It's about need. So I don't know if it'd be good if the species was altruistic, but it's not altruistic. But individuals are altruistic. Can be. I have been. I am. I try to be. I force myself to, and I also drop acid once a year just to make sure that I'm still not being back to being that little psycho that I was. How I view it is I killed that psychopath. I developed my own soul. I started with an honor code that turned into a conscience. Eventually I could feel things. So I'm a unique perspective on that route because I've been a psychopath, a sociopath, and a human being. And also because I'm a tranny, because I've been on testosterone. And I've been overloaded on estrogen. The overloaded on estrogen thing does help the emotions. It makes emotions way more intense. But I've seen things from both sides, male, female. I mean, not truly female, of course, but a lot of female. A lot of the difference between male and female is the hormones. A lot of it is, and a lot of everything is hormones. I mean, it's all hormones. We're electrochemical wetware, and those hormones control most everything. So I've got a unique perspective on this thing. But now let me get back to the subject. The reason why we'll win this time, the reason why we'll crush these guys, is because we're coming up on an age. I don't know what they're going to call this age. I think they may call it the reckoning. They may call it the reveal. They may call it the era of retribution. Because you see, for the last 120 years, well, let's say 100 years, our healthcare industry has been doing nothing but creating customers for the pharmaceutical industry. Our doctors are salesmen for pharmaceutical reps. And they're just pharmaceutical reps, that's all they are. They're not helping you. If you just didn't go see a doctor ever and never even messed with it and went only when you broke a leg to get splinted, you'd live a much longer life. And you know how I know this? It's because the Amish outlive everybody else. The Amish don't have autism. The Amish don't have any of these things. They don't go see doctors. They're living much longer lives. Humans are capable of living much longer lives. We'd all be living to be about 100 if we didn't go see the doctors. But the doctors are there to get us hooked on drugs that are going to cause damage to us and create that. And this is all about to become readily apparent. Like the vaccination programs. In 1913, Richet, the man who won the Nobel Prize for Medicine in 1913, won it for his study of the concept of anaphylaxis. Now, prophylaxis means to add protection. Anaphylaxis means to take protection away. Now, what he did was he killed a lot of fucking dogs. He was one of those evil scientists who killed a lot of dogs. He realized that if you put some protein, like say milk, peanut, oil, any protein really, into a person's bloodstream, waited 21 days, and then exposed them to that same protein, it would most likely kill them. That's anaphylaxis. Anaphylaxis is an allergic reaction to anything. It's a predisposed vulnerability to something intentional. Now, about 1914, everybody in modern medicine just stopped talking about this guy and stopped talking about anaphylaxis and started calling it an allergic reaction. Even though it was well studied and it was well understood in 1913, well enough to earn the Nobel Peace Prize, the Nobel Prize for Medicine. That this is how you did it. You stick them with something, wait 21 days, and then you give them a glass of milk and they die. Give them touch them with a peanut and they die. They knew this then. And they developed an entire program to make people vulnerable to common proteins. After that, the vaccination programs began. They started mass vaccinating people. Now, all vaccination does is predispose you to whatever's in that shot. And that shot contains milk protein, peanut protein, aluminum. You're predisposed and vulnerable to aluminum because they put aluminum in there. Whatever they put in the shot, you become predisposed to and vulnerable to. It doesn't happen to everyone, but it happens to a significant percentage of everyone. And for the last 100 years, the last 95 years, let's put it that way, the last 95 years, they've been doing this to everyone in this country. Except for the Amish, of course. The Amish don't get the shots. The Amish are fine. They don't have peanut allergies. They don't have milk allergies. They're not allergies, there's vulnerabilities, induced vulnerabilities. Anaphylaxis means to take away protection, to hurt your immune system in a certain way, make you vulnerable to certain things so they can control populations that way and cull populations that way. It's always been that way. The job of a doctor is to make lifelong customers for pharmaceutical drugs. The job of the government has been to make sure that you are on those things so that they can get their money in kickbacks. When I was 18 years old, I read an article in Newsweek about how Big Pharma, the lobbying organization for the pharmaceutical industry, they were at the time lobbying, direct lobbying, our federal elected officials by about $800 million a year, and had been for a while, and the numbers continue to be about the same. It's increased slightly, but just about $800 million per year. That's close to $2 million per federally elected official. We only have 435 federally elected officials. I think it counts correct at this point. Yeah, close enough. It's close to there. It's not even up to 500. So $800 million a year to our federally elected officials for the last, this was when I was 18, I'm now 53. Yeah, I don't look at it. The saddest thing is, you know how hard it is to work as a hooker when you have to list 53 on the age thing because they do check your ID when you sign up for like Eros Online. Yeah, I look great, but I can no longer work because nobody's going to hire a 53-year-old hooker. Nobody wants to fuck grandma, even if it's tranny, grandma. Which would, in my world case, when my kids have kids, I'm going to have them call me a granite because I think it'd be funnier and also sounds hard. But still. So, where was I on that one? Oh, yeah. So at the time, I remember thinking, wow, what the fuck are these guys getting away with? Because our oil and gas, and big oil, is only bribing our federal elected officials by about $300 million a year. I'm like, wow, that's less than half of what Big Pharma is giving them. And big oil and big gas are getting away with destroying the fucking planet. What the fuck are the pharmaceutical companies getting away with? Oh, now I know. Now I realized. Everything. They're making lifelong customers. You can choose not to drive. You can choose to walk places. You can't really choose, unless you're Amish, to not get vaccinated. You can't choose to survive in this society without going to see your doctor and dealing with all this medical bullshit. You can't get into school without getting in shots. And all those shots all they do is cause vulnerability. The concept of viruses themselves have never been proven, they've never been isolated, and they've never passed Koch's postulates. Now sure, there are diseases, there are bacterial infections, and there are fungal infections that we can easily see and which are easily provable. But as far as viruses go, there's no even real definition of a virus. All they do is they give you some electron microscopy of extracellular vesicles, and they say, this one's that, this one's that. But there's a guy right now who's doing the virology control studies. He's doing the proper arm of all the virology proofs that prove that viruses exist. He's doing the control arm, which means he's taking sterile solutions, letting them die at the same rate. And they're dying at the same rate, and you can see the same extracellular vesicles that they're picking out and calling viruses. Viruses are the perfect enemy. I mean, you thought the war on terror was brilliant? Or war of terror was brilliant? I mean, anybody could be, anybody who's, darker than you could be a terrorist. A Muslim is a terrorist. But think about it this way. Viruses. Invisible actors that necessitate otherwise unnecessary countermeasures and campaigns designed solely to cuck, cower, and cull in humanity. That's it. They're the perfect enemy. You have a war against a virus. Everyone I know that got AIDS in the 80s, and I know quite a few people. Hooker, since I was 12. I was a hooker in the 80s. Everyone I know that got AIDS, they got HIV, tested positive for it, started taking the medicine, they were all dead within 6 weeks. Everyone I know, and it's quite a number of people, that said, fuck this, I'm not taking that medication, they're all still alive to this day unless they died of something accidental, like a car crash. My brother's had it since 1986. He's perfectly fine. Don't take the medication. If you are ever diagnosed with AIDS, ignore it. Just fucking ignore it. Because if you take the medication, it'll kill you. That's what it does. That's another one of those things where they came up with this test that cannot possibly diagnose illness. Asymptomatic illness, in and of itself, is a PR concept. You cannot have asymptomatic illness. If you have bronchial infection and bronchial pneumonia, you have bacteria and you're coughing it up. And it's spewing out of you into the air. That's how other people catch it. If it wasn't for the symptom of coughing it up, there would be no spread of it. There's no such thing as asymptomatic fucking illness, asymptomatic spread of anything. And there's no such thing as fucking viruses. My God, but think about it. I mean, our society exists based on that concept of viruses. People live their whole life, save up all their money, do everything they possibly can. Do everything they possibly can to save up as much money as they possibly can. And what happens then? What do they do at the end of their life? They then give all that money over. Hand it over. Not in estate tax. They hand it all over before they get to the estate tax. They do everything. They max out their credit, giving it all to some cancer center. I worked at the cancer center here when they got fined by $1.5 million from Civil Rights Division for high-tech and HIPAA violations. We went in and we fixed that for them. I got to go through all their stuff and doing all their internal email. There's no discussion whatsoever of them fixing anyone. They're just giving them some horrible drugs that are going to make them feel really sick and be more likely to pay them out all of their money. Because people will spend every dollar they make their entire lifetime to live another day. And I can guarantee you, if you give them the money, you're just going to spend that day sick. Otherwise, you could just, live out your normal life and die. Only have symptoms of the cancer at the very end. If you get tested, though, you'll spend the 6 or 7 years horribly freaked out because you're dying, even though you're not. You might be dead in 7 years, yeah, but you'd be dead in 7 years anyways. They won't do anything to help you. They won't do anything to fix you. Spontaneous remission happens. Chemotherapy remission doesn't happen. So it was, So white love will win. So after saying all that, I probably seem crazy, but I'm certain I am crazy. That's a given. Nobody makes it to this age without being crazy. The amount of pain I'm in a given moment is fucking you could not take my pain, trust me. I wish I didn't have to. But I, of course, survived because I have children, and I can't kill myself because suicide runs in the family. If I kill myself, my kids are more likely to kill themselves. And I will do anything, and I mean anything, to keep my children alive. And that's why don't get black-pilled right now. Because every person you know, every parent you know that's any decent bit of a parent, any parent you know that isn't fucking their kids, is willing to douse themselves in fucking napalm and wrap their arms around the nearest motherfucker that's trying to hurt their kids. There's billions of us. Billions. There's not enough here. And right now, everything I just told you is slowly breaking. I'm afraid that Trump and Kennedy won't release all this information. It's all available. They might not release all this information because it'll cause a global Rwanda genocide. It will cause the death of billions. But you know what? If you don't release this information and we continue living in a lie, all the people that are going to suffer from this bullshit, all of the people that are going to be given autism, all the parents who are going to lose their kids to SIDS, to autism, to all these things, all of those will happen. And in the end, the information is going to come out anyways because someone like me is going to get it out there, going to get the files and release them. Someone's going to do it. And on that day, billions will die. Plus all the people that died and all the suffering it caused in the interim. The least death and suffering happens if you release today. Yes, it's going to be horrible. But if you wait 10 years, it'll be that much more horrible. 20 years, that much more horrible. So please, God, please, Trump, release the information. Kennedy, release the information. Don't think, no, for the good of humanity, we have to save this. Because humanity, if this is what humanity is, this is what humanity is willing to do, humanity doesn't deserve to live. If we're going to continue poisoning generation after generation of children with these fucking bullshit protocols that are nothing more than marketing campaigns for fucking pharmaceutical drugs, if we allow that to happen, it's still going to get out eventually. Because too many people like me know, and too many people like me think your security is so ridiculously silly, and it's not going to hold. I'm a former hacker. There's a lot of active hackers, and a lot of them are parents. And like I tell my clients all the time, there's no such thing as security. All I'm trying to do for you is make you not the lowest hanging fruit. It's the best I can do. Never piss anybody off, because if you piss somebody off with the most minimal of skills, they will get into your shit and they will fuck you up. Because no security can stop a dedicated individual who wants in. Take any human being and stick him in a jail cell, and then leave him unsupervised for a week. He'll get out of that jail cell. He'll get out of that prison. He'll go. He'll be gone. The average person. Network security, encryption, all of that is the same exact thing. It works the exact same way. Give someone enough time, they'll get into it. And then they will release it because they'll realize that they'll do the math like I did. Yeah, it's going to be horrible. Let's say hundreds of millions will die because of this. Because every doctor out there every pediatrician who's ever given a shot to a kid had the information on hand in his own fucking records to know that it was going to hurt that kid and went along with it anyways. And every parent who lost a kid to sudden infant death syndrome, every single one of them is a victim of that doctor, of that pharmaceutical company, of their politicians that kept this shit rolling. There's just a chain of people that are responsible for the death of their child. They're also responsible for it. But the buck stops with them. And if love will make you do anything to protect your child, what do you think it'll do to help you avenge him? They said there's no limits. There's no limits whatsoever on what love can do. What hate can do has serious limits. Self-preservation, sanity, what's the word for it? Equivalency. None of those things exist for love. Love will make the monster of anyone, the best of people. And in the end of it, they'll still be the best of people. They'll just have been monsters for a bit when it mattered. So, do not get sad or bummed out. Please. Love will beat the demon. We're about to go through a very, very weird time and a very, very dark time. And I'm hoping they call it the era of reckoning and retribution. Because that's what it will be. And we're going to lose a lot of people. That's because a lot of people went along to get along. And that's something you should never do. Especially when it comes to other people's children. I don't want to hang out with anybody else's kids. I don't want anything to do with anybody else's kids. But I sure as fuck don't want anybody to hurt other people's kids. We got kid fuckers and we got kid fucker uppers. That's the doctors, the pediatricians, farmer reps, the representatives, the senators, state and federal. All of these people, the World Health Organization, it's all they push. Vaccines didn't stop childhood death in the 20th century. Sanitation, clean water did. That's all. Now they've pulled all the money away from those things so they can push more vaccines. They're just making people sicker. Just making kids sicker. Guaranteeing those kids are... How many medications are those kids on now? How many medications are your kids on? It used to be by the time somebody was 70 or 80, they might be on 3 medications. Maybe. Now they're on like 43. And the kids? The kids are on 17 fucking medications. If you're giving a kid anything that can pass the blood-brain barrier, you are fucking that kid up for life because the brain will wire itself with molecules on hand. And if those molecules are non-native to the brain, when those molecules fall out of the system and they become metabolized and leave, the brain will fail. Because the it's called neural pruning. When your brain finally wires itself solidly for adulthood. It happens between the ages of 12 and 16. But like me, I was put on down Desoxin from 9 to 21. And I didn't realize what they did to me until I got off it. And then my world fell apart and I became special needs. And it took me about 6 months to actually realize what the fuck was wrong. Somebody, random chance, gave me a line of meth. I did the line of meth. And my brain came back on because those were the molecules in my brain. Because that's what passed the blood-brain barrier for me. And 85 milligrams of Desoxin, which is methamphetamine hydrochloride. That's how I developed on it. Can't drive, can't think, can't work, can't do anything. The states picked me up 3 times and stuck me in rehabilitation center, just to get me back on the drug. Because they know what's wrong with my brain. They knew that for me 20 years ago, 30 years ago. They know that for all the kids that are on Ritalin, same thing. The brain will wire itself with those molecules in it. And then when those molecules are not there, the brain pathways will be intermittently broken. And they won't be able to think properly unless they stay on Ritalin. Adderall, for God's sakes, Adderall, the actual developmental name of Adderall was ADD for all because they knew what the fuck they were doing. They knew. They're always trying to make lifelong customers. Put it this way, you want to think about the pharmaceutical industry. Goldman Sachs, of course, you know, the hedge funds own everything now. There's only 3 corporations. There's BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, and they all have intermixed boards. There's only one real company, but a few years back, and please look this up. Please look this up. Look up Goldman Sachs hepatitis C board meeting leak. The minutes to one of their board meetings leaked where they were discussing hepatitis C and how they couldn't cure hepatitis C because if they cured hepatitis C, they'd not only lose out on all the money that they would get from the hepatitis C victim, but also from all the people that they would transmit that disease to somehow. Think about that. Now, those idiots think that it's a viral disease can be transmitted, even though all contagion studies haven't happened. But still, that's the attitude. That's their attitude about, do you think that's their attitude just about hepatitis C? Or might that be their attitude about cancer too? Think about it. Seriously, think about it. It's not just hepatitis C. That's their idea about everything. We couldn't possibly cure it because we'd lose all the money we get from all the people who get cancer nowadays, thanks to the shots we give them. Any cancer rate above what the Amish are getting is unnatural. It just is. So, that's their attitude about everything. They won't ever cure anything again. They used to cure things. They stopped curing things. When the moneyed interests got involved in everything, we need to immediately, we need to immediately stop. We need to take the profit out of healthcare because you can't have, capitalism and healthcare don't work. Capitalism and what you need to survive, once you mix the two, it becomes slavery, nothing more. And we've always known that. We should never have allowed this to happen. But we did. But I'm going to let you go with that. Just please remember that love will beat hate, and love will kill the demon. Because right about now, or very, very soon, or potentially 10 years from now, with so much more suffering, the truth is going to come out in a way that is unassailable, that is unimpeachable, which cannot be ignored by the average person. And once the average parents who've lost their children to SIDS, the parents who are currently right now taking care of a 35-year-old autistic kid who will never be who they were supposed to be. They will never be that. They were never the child they wanted them to be. They never saw them excel. They never saw them advance and grow and become the adult person that they were supposed to be. And we'll never have those people to take care of them as they get old and die. Those parents, every one of those parents, is going to soon know the truth about what caused that to them, what took away, what murdered their child. Even if they're still breathing, they're murdered, doesn't matter. Every one of those parents is about to know the truth. I'd say God help the motherfuckers responsible, but I'm pretty sure he won't. I don't think he has much use for them. So maybe Satan might show them some mercy, but I kind of doubt he will either, because even he's not as fucked up as our pharmaceutical companies are, and our doctors, and our fucking politicians. There's nothing in the Bible as cruel or evil as the system we adore, salute, and call heroes. Have fun. Welcome to the Age of Reckoning.
Once again they're lying, once again we're dying, while the hell you still crying, try denying and defying. I don't mean to be unkind, fluoride has calcified your mind, break it open you will find, they've left this all behind. Well, let me tell you why. Hell fell from the sky, expelled this well of lies, devil tell us when to die. The danger nears, we must give them more control. You act as if your fears are worth more than my soul. Do you really think that I'll submit? So you may still must remain untamed. We must remain untamed.